Hello everyone, welcome to the round 11 reaction. How are you all doing? Hope you're all doing well. Hope you can all hear me okay. I had to quickly check just before I started speaking as per usual, but thank you everyone for joining me on this Sunday evening. It's nice to be starting the stream a little bit earlier at 6:15. Not doing the streams at 8:30, so we can kind of relax a little bit afterwards. But thank you all for joining me. Davey K, Tyler, KP, Micah, Mark Lawless, Raymond, Jackson, Ibrahim, James Chan, a lot of people in the chat, a lot of regulars as well. Great to see a lot of members as well. And if you remember, and if you got a membership from Tom J, our man Tom J, the hero of the channel, do drop a Tom J gifted me this emoji just to represent. But thanks everyone for tuning in. Had a pretty good week this week. So I scored 1,206. Don't think there was actually a big spread in scores. I took an average of both Podmasters and one of the other offshoot Podmasters leagues, the Podmasters Seeded 2. And averages in both leagues, 1173 and like 1171. So that seems to be about the par score, I'd suggest, or maybe about 1150, given that podcasters are generally doing quite well. So I think around 1150, if you've gotten around that, 10 points here or there, I think you're doing fine. If you've gotten close to the 1200, I think it's a pretty good week, but not a lot of spreads I'm noticing in points, because I think a lot of the highly owned players tended to do well. I don't really think a lot of people would have done too poorly, in my opinion. And I think the ones who would have maybe cracked even higher than, say, the 1220s, 1230 pluses, they probably would have maybe captained Fafita over Nico Hines, because he scored about 20 points better off. Maybe you had, somehow, if you had Scott Sorensen, who's absolutely killed it. I can't wait for next week's Is Scott Sorensen a trade-in questions. Always a question about trading in someone who scored 176, but look, he could obviously make plenty of money. I guess that's maybe one potential incentive. But in terms of how I did with my team, pretty good. In terms of the trade that I ended up doing, was a little bit different to what I said on the Tuesday stream. I did use my boost. I did use a boost, so I still do have 2 boosts left. But instead of the original boost that I was looking at, which was taking out, I think it was going early on Valence Tavare. I just thought, just the risk and the potential, looking at my team, like I had the likes of Howarth, Matt Dury, Josh Schuster. Pele is not really relevant, I guess. A lot of kind of really not good depth players in my squad. I thought if I go early on Valence Tavare and he isn't available for us, it's just going to even worsen my depth in my team, especially just heading into the bye period. So I did want to go for Alex Johnson still though, but the way I funded my moves was by selling Tedesco. So I did trade in Tedesco, a couple of weeks ago, and that was when Turbo was first out. And on recollection, it probably wasn't the best trade in, just given how the Roosters are performing. I went through their stats last week. They are the third worst attack. That's obviously not helped this week, only scoring 4 points. Teddy just doesn't look the same, nor do the Roosters as a whole. I traded him in with the view of it was the Cowboys matchup that he had. He also had the Dragons in round 12. But I was just looking at it was Panthers this week. Didn't want to get Valence Tavare, and I just thought he was probably the best person for me to actually downgrade, especially because I thought Buller was the best downgrade available. So I went Teddy down to Buller, and look, he could obviously do well Tedesco against the Dragons next week, but look, he's out for round 13 anyway. I assume he's going to get picked for Origin in any case, and so I figured, look, I can collect 300k here going down to Buller, and that let me do a boost then of, what did I end up doing? I kept Alamodi and I kept Truva. Who else did I take out? I took out Jackson Ford. That's right. So I did sell Jackson Ford. I know he probably wasn't the best candidate to sell this week because he does cover round 13, but the way that my team was set up, you can see my second row forward depth was really poor. It actually would have hurt my squad really badly over the next 2 weeks to have him out and to sit in. So I thought I'll trade him out because, look, while he's been playing good, not an essential must-have, and it helps my team over the next couple of weeks. So I used duels. I had Howarth in my center wing. I traded Ford in for AJ. I traded out Stefano, finally, although he actually did okay this week, scoring 51, but I traded out Stefano for Joe Tarpany. I've kept Christian Welch. Both of them really delivered. I think that did help me this week, that both Tarpany and Welch have done quite well, 68 each. And then the last trade I did was, what did I do? Teddy to Buller, Ford to AJ, and Stefano to Tarpany. So that was my boost. I still have 2 boosts left, which I'm kind of okay with. So I think the trades worked out well. Obviously, Teddy only scored like mid-20s. Buller outscored him, even he didn't really have any major attacking stats. So that's pretty encouraging. And I kind of had to make that trade because I had to sit Tom Gilbert this week. Now, Gilbert, I'm still looking at potentially maybe plays Origin, but if he doesn't, he's a round 13 number for me. But yeah, I think overall the team, did well from the likes of Grant. Tarpany, I think, was a good trade in with 68, all in base power. Fafita obviously scoring a double, so did amazing as just continuing this really good run. Both Hines and Cleary just kind of just being themselves, just accumulating points, 80 points each. Dillbags in a team in a side that didn't really put too many points on, and only with the one try assist. I'll take 53. It's okay. Obviously, the disappointing ones were, Joey Manu. I think obviously a lot of people own. Zach Hosking, really, really weird with Hosking. 31 minutes. I'm seeing a question here from Hamish. Is he badly injured or is everyone just panic trading? Really didn't know what was happening there because I know he went off for a HIA assessment when there was about 10 minutes to go in the first half, and he went off for a HIA assessment, and I figured, okay, well look, maybe he's out for the rest of the second half. I think he didn't fail his HIA, but I think they just decided to not trade him. They just didn't decide to sub him back in for whatever reason. I think that obviously the game was quite comfortable. Maybe they just wanted to be on the conservative side, but obviously frustrating that he only got the 28 points playing 31 minutes. He has been good for us, since we've owned him. So I'm not in a mass panic trading. I do want to definitely find out what the situation was. But obviously, if there's potential risks of minutes there moving forward, then he is someone that maybe could be a candidate just to move on for round 13. There's not a lot of round 13 back rowers that stand out. One that we'll get to that I really like from the Cowboys is Hylam Lukey. I know he scored big this week, but even without him scoring big, he was someone who was kind of on the radar, but he's come out and scored 121 points with a double, and really, he is a really good player. So I think he's potentially one. Maybe Hopgood had a big score again this week, scoring a try, which is painful as a non-owner. Preston was solid, but yeah, maybe in the second row forward, I'm looking at potentially a couple of moves, or maybe Tohu Harris even there. If I got Tohu Harris, that might just gives me the flexibility of having a dual front row forward, second row forward in both front row forward and the 2-hour spot. Apart from that, Manu, again, just on him, didn't really see, I know he got that rolled ankle, which was potentially some ligament damage. Now, I did read the tweet from NRL Physio. It didn't seem too serious from his perspective, so I'd be keen to see what he says tonight on his Magic Sponge podcast, which obviously I definitely recommend as a really great roundup of the week's injuries, it's really useful information from a SuperCoach and fantasy perspective. I'm just going to quickly scroll down to see what his exact words were. Okay, so he said, Joey Manu off with a right ankle injury, clear low lateral ankle sprain mechanism, garden variety / rolled ankle. Bark usually worse than bite, i.e. it looks worse than it normally is. Not as bad as a high ankle sprain. Provided no fracture, usually a relatively quick recovery. So it'd be interesting to see what the Roosters do, because if it's a quick recovery, the Roosters play this coming week they play on the Friday. So they did play on the Friday. So it is a full 7-day turnaround. Maybe 7 days is enough for him. They don't have Sam Walker. He's out for 3 weeks, I believe. So if they don't have Manu or Walker, they'd have to put Drew Hutchinson, I think, at 5'8". So maybe the Roosters want to bring him back sooner because they think that they just need to rely on him. If not, and if he's out for this week and round 13 because the Roosters have the bye that week, yeah, Manu is probably someone that you could look to move on. There's plenty of options in the centre wing to consider as well. So I think there could definitely be a move to take out Joey Manu. Billy Smith obviously scored very well. Interesting with him, he had another game where he scored really big base points. We'll quickly just get onto that now, actually. He had a lot of base points, which is obviously something I like to see. Scoring 80 points in a team that only scored 4 points. He did have he did have the try assist and line break assist, but if you look at the base stats, 21 plus 6, 27. In offloads, that's another, 35 plus 21. We're looking at about 52-ish points in base power. So that's a really good floor to work off. And he's bottom dollar, not quite bottom dollar, but he's 289k. So he's a very, very good cheap price. Won't cover round 13, so that's probably the only downside, but maybe if you're looking for a downgrade option, he might be the one to go for. I'm not sure if I might jump on him because maybe I might be holding out hope for Valence Tavare in round 13. All right, we'll start getting to some of your questions before we start going through the games. But to preface, the only game I wasn't able to watch really this week was the Storm-Broncos game. I had a work event, and I actually haven't been able to watch highlights of it yet either. So I think I'll be looking to rewatch that probably later tonight in terms of the highlights. But look, honestly, the thing I was happiest most about from this game was the tips. I tipped the Storm, and Christian Welch getting 68, thank God, and not getting me 30-something points. Let's take some questions here. So a lot of questions I'm seeing about Manu. So Tua Pro saying Manu to Tane Milne, Manu to Valence Tavare. You can only trade Manu to one player, but Manu to who? I mean, look, there's so many center wing options that you can go for that cover round 13. Even Valence this week will be slightly a risk because he might get named, but it won't be his third game. So Tavare is probably not even a must. If you need a downgrade to facilitate trades, and probably Billy Smith would be, given that he's got back-to-back 80s, will be most likely to make some good coin. Other options, if you don't have Garrick, he again did very well today, 94 points. This is something I do want to talk about quickly. So I've started noticing this. I think I first heard it on the SuperCoach Champions podcast, and I think someone flagged it to them. Seeing a lot more line breaks given to wingers or like just backline players when they make like 10, 15, 20 meters inside their own half. So it's kind of like those ones where the opposite winger's gone back, but the attacking winger hasn't like broken through the line, but they get given these line breaks. So like Garrick, I think, got a line break like that. He's got 2 line breaks. The other player I noticed who got this, I thought, was Alex Johnston, because I don't think Johnson had a pure line break, unless I've missed this completely. But he has been given a line break, and I feel like it was one where he had like a run where, I think it happened in the first half when Cody Walker floated a ball out to him and he ran like 15, 20 meters and got tackled, but it didn't feel like a proper line break. That's something I've just started noticing. So, because I think I saw on Facebook a few people talking about phantom line breaks. I think this is what's happening here. But anyway, just a bit of a digression here. But yeah, look, Alex Johnson is an option. I know he only scored 40 points, but we know the Rabbitohs are a quality team. Tane Milne really comes down, I think, to the health of Isaac Thompson, because Isaac Thompson was preferred to him. So it'd be interesting to just know what the prognosis is actually on Isaac Thompson. Let me just have a quick look at the NRL casualty ward, maybe if that's got anything in there. All teams. Let's go to the Rabbitohs. Okay, he's not even on their casualty ward according to NRL.com. So he might actually, was he in the extended reserves? Maybe he was. But yeah, look, maybe Tane Milne is an option. You've got maybe like Nickel Klukstad, but he's got the bye this week. So look, I think there's a few options, but look, we'll first see on TLT what's the actual prognosis on Manu, and then from there I think we can go into who's a good round 13 center wing. I really do still like the Knights. Obviously put up a lot of points today. Lockie Miller, Greg Marzu are still definitely options. I'm definitely eyeing up Lockie Miller if I can in round 13. Just like him as an option. His goal kicking, not the best goal kicker, but the fact that his goal kicking is good. And look, I'm not going to read too much into this game with the Titans, because while the Knights looked good, they scored 46, but they also conceded 26, and the Titans are just a very leaky team. So I'm not sure how much I rate into that being the Knights attack or it's the Titans defense. Although I will say KP probably added about 3 tries, I think, to what the Knights could have scored, because he was really, really good today as well. Scored a try of his own and set up a couple too. I think, I'm seeing Hamish perfect round on the tips. I tipped Parramatta. I don't know. I felt like, I know it was an away game without Moses. Now that I say that, it looks stupid. But I thought Canberra on a good run. Parramatta last year went down to Canberra and won. So I think I had that in the back of my mind. So I thought maybe Parramatta. I normally tip one kind of upset each round. I thought it'd be Parramatta. It wasn't to be. But I got everything else right. So 7 out of 8. Although I know others in my league did get 8 out of 8, which means the weekly jackpot is going to get taken, because it normally accrues. But now it's going to get taken this week, which is painful. I thought I might have been in the running for it. But I think now I'm coming second in my work league comp. So not too bad. Manu to Billy Smith. Look, if Manu's out, I can see that being a pretty popular move, just to make some money as a downgrade, both in straight value, but also in Billy Smith making some money probably if he gets named again. Thompson's fine. He's playing reserves. Okay, interesting. So Tane Milne probably does like that. I guess the Rabbitohs are on a massive win streak, so there's no real need for them to change what's working for them, right? So yeah, Tane Milne probably does look safe in that sense. He's an okay price at 410k. I mean, 4 line breaks. Is he going to get 4 line breaks every game? Probably not. That's good base stats though. 41 points in just runs. Add in the tackles, okay, nothing. But 41 points in pure base is quite good, actually. So maybe he's an option. As a Latrell non-owner, that late try was very, very painful. I was really hoping he didn't get any junk, but it wasn't to be. Wasn't to be. So Latrell just keeps piling on, accumulating points as a non-owner. It's very frustrating, but I think it's too late now to get him until Origin. Given that we're so close now, it's only 2 weeks now. At the end of next week, actually will be very important. We'll find out the Origin squads as well. So we've got round 12, and then I think both Queensland and New South Wales put out their teams on the Monday. I think New South Wales have changed it slightly where instead of releasing their team on a Sunday, they've now releasing it on a Monday, I think at the same time or same day as Queensland. All right, let's go through some other questions. So Harry Grant a sell. So I guess let's kind of work through this game by game. So yeah, look, with Harry Grant, I'm maybe in a slightly different situation where I won't have a hooker for round 13. My other hooker is Reid Marnie. But I feel like Reid Marnie's doing okay. He's chipping along. He's kind of getting high 50s, low 60s each week, which I'll definitely take. But I think those who have Harry Grant and Sonny Luke as a combination, Sonny Luke's just not getting the minutes. I think I read something on Twitter where he's still kind of getting back from this hamstring injury he sustained. So that's why the minutes are not quite there yet. And so he's been a bit of an issue, I think, for people who's kind of scoring around the mid to high 20s, not really being of much use. So I think if you've got that kind of combination, I think the argument to sell Grant is probably stronger. And I'm happy with selling Grant if you feel like you need to, because 670k, look, it's a decent price, but it's not like a crazy out of reach price. Like it's a very different story when you're selling the likes of Cleary and Nico Hines, who are like 850k plus. Like trying to get them back, I think would just be much more difficult. Whereas with Harry Grant at 670k, I think the round 13 standout options if you're going for someone playing that week probably would be Reece Robson, Jeremy Marshall-King. So Robson is, let me see his price here, 1 second. He scored 53 this week. I don't think he had many major attacking stats, only a try contribution. He's 580k, so going down to him might make you a bit less than 100,000. I think Jeremy Marshall-King's actually more expensive than Harry Grant is at the moment. One thing I do like with the Cowboys is that they do have a bye in round 15, but that's a week when it's a non-origin affected week. So as long as you've got a decent backup hooker, you can probably cover for Robson if you did go for him. Okay. If you had Sonny Luke in him though, that's probably an issue because then you're buying a hooker for round 13 who's going to be out already for round 15. I'll quickly bring up the draw as well. So just bear with me for a second. So yeah, if we're looking from round 12 onwards, so the thing with the Cowboys is that they do cover round 13, but then it is a bye in round 15. And it's the Roosters again if you're a Sonny Luke owner, for example, if that's your pairing. So from that perspective, if you're running that combo, maybe Robson isn't the best one. I think the Dolphins are probably going to be slightly better for you, where they've got the Dragons in 13 at home. I really like that. That's potentially a good matchup for someone like Marshall-King to get more attacking stats. So I think he's probably just in a pure round 13 game. I think he's better. And then you've got Warriors Manly. They do have the bye in round 16, but they do cover round 19 as well. So that is something that is pretty handy too. So I think there is a couple of options there that you can sell Harry Grant to that cover round 13. And look, he's doing fine. 79 points, got a try assist, I think, with another line break assist as well. He's not one that I'm locked into selling, but come round 13, how my numbers are looking, he's definitely, I think, on the cards to sell. I think the value thing is what really makes it a bit easier, where he's only 670k, so getting back to him won't be hopefully not too difficult. I think he will play more games than probably what we thought from last year, given that the Storm don't have Brandon Smith, and I expect him and Ben Hunt to be sharing minutes at hooker for Queensland, so he won't be playing the full 80 in Queensland's games anyway. So if I can, I might hold on to him, just so that I don't have to kind of worry about trying to trade him back in. I think the risk is that you trade out too many Origin guys and then you have to start trying to get them back in. That's obviously where you might run into some issues. But look, I think Grant, definitely someone that you can sell. Just as a long way to going about answering your question. But I think probably next week, maybe we can get a bit more into, who are the Origin guns that you could maybe look to sell? Who could you bring? Who could you hold on to? I can see some questions about Fafita. When will Fafita be a buy in your opinion? I feel similar to how you feel about Latrell. Yeah, look, it is tough because Fafita is just like, I'm so happy with, I remember it was preseason, I think it was about like a day before the game we were about to kick off round 1, and for some reason I was having a last minute thing about like Ruben Cotter. I was like, do I go Fafita or do I go Ruben Cotter? I never once had Cotter in any of my preseason teams. I had Fafita, and at the end I decided, look, I had Fafita in all preseason. If he goes well, I'll be filthy I don't have him. I'm really glad I listened to myself in that sense because, look, Cotter's been fine, but Fafita's just been absolutely killing it. He is very expensive too now. He's 843k, and he had a break even of 45, so it's going to be even more expensive now. To be honest, with Fafita, I can definitely make an argument to get him next week anyway, because the thing is, like, yes, he'll be very expensive, but let's say you're a Hosking and Preston owner, you can maybe just downgrade one of those positions to enough, or not to enough, but maybe just to a cheap option. If you had duels, obviously, ideally, someone like Tavara might be handy, and then you could upgrade that other second or forward to Fafita. Because the thing is with Fafita, we discussed it a little bit last week, I think he's a guy who can definitely back up more during the Origin period. He just looks fitter, just looks happy, like he just looks really good playing for the Titans this year. And I think his fitness looks good. You saw, if you guys watched the game today, you would have seen him outrun like Ponga and Dom Young and all these other guys 90 meters, and Lockie Miller for his second try. Like, and that was like in the 65th, 68th minute. Like, it was late into the game, so he would have been, huffing and puffing by then. But like, fitness looks really good. And the thing is, I mean, he probably would start for Queensland. If he was named on the bench, I would think buying him is even more of it's even easier to buy him because, you know what, before I get into this, let me bring up this other spreadsheet because you guys know I love making spreadsheets. So I shared this image on Twitter last week, and I took it from this other spreadsheet I made. So what I did was I mocked up what the rest periods are for every team post the major Origin games. So that's round 14, 17, and 20 is when there's short turnarounds from Origin. So what I'll do, actually, this spreadsheet, I'll sing about it anyway. I'll give it away for free. It's fine. I mean, look, it's nothing more than this really, but if you wanted to play around, you can. But I'll put a link out for this on YouTube and Twitter, and everyone can access it. It's no big deal. And yeah, if you look at the Titans, they have a 2-day turnaround after game 1. They've got a 3-day turnaround after game 2 and a 3-game turnaround after game 3. So they've actually got a pretty decent rest. And especially for Fafita, if he only plays, let's say he's playing 40, 45 minutes at Origin, round 14 is really the biggest risk of him probably not backing up. So I think if you're a non-Fafita owner, maybe you can hold out until round 15 when he's got the Tigers. Obviously, we'll miss round 16, but then that's actually one good thing with the Titans. After round 16, they have no more buys. I think they're one of the first teams to not have any more buys after round 16. They've got a clear runway the whole way. So I think with Fafita, if you can't get him now, like in round 12, I think you can maybe get him in round 15 because it will be the buy and then a short turnaround to Rabbitohs, so it's kind of tough. And then 15, I think you pounce on him when he's got Tigers. Round 16, he'll miss, but then from there, 3-day turnaround to round 17, 3-down turnaround to 20, and no more buys. You can just be a set and forget. So I think with Fafita, if you're a non-owner, probably either next week, I think you pull the trigger to just get him for the Bulldogs matchup, where he could be obviously get another 100+ game. And otherwise, you maybe hold out to round 15, I think, is how I would think about it. All right, let's see. Anything else from this Titans game that we can talk about? So I think Marzu and Miller, good candidates. I was seeing some questions about Gagai before earlier. He has been doing very well this season, but unfortunately, he probably will play Origin for Queensland. I say unfortunately as a New South Wales fan as well, because Gagai playing for Queensland is just a different animal altogether. But I think the fact that he doesn't cover round 13, and then they've got the bye round 14, just for now, I think doesn't make him a buy at this stage. That is one thing to be careful of with the nice players too. If you are looking at Marzu or Miller, they will have the bye in round 14, which is going to be a bit of a painful week as well if you're especially loading up on the Eels players. So that's one thing I would just also take into account. But I really like the look of Miller. Had a quiet game, I'd say, in his sense, but I think he got a try assist for Gagai's try. Although, to be fair, Gagai's try, I feel like, shouldn't have stood. I think Frizzell had run on the inside shoulder of Foran, but he like clipped his legs, and I thought he was going to get pulled back for obstruction. It didn't count. So I was a little bit surprised by that. So, look, I'm very surprised about referee decisions pretty much all the time now, but there's no point in me fighting it because I'm a little Joe Schmo here. I don't think I'm going to be making any impact on what the NRL decides with their referee decisions moving forward. But look, if you took that away, look, Miller's sitting at 46, but that's kind of what Miller does, right? Like in a game where he doesn't do much, 45 to 50 is his floor. Got the try assist, line break assist this week as well. But lots of points obviously in goal kicks as well. So that's the benefit of Miller as well. Goal kicking makes him really good as an option. Titans, Khan Pereira seems to still be doing quite well. Excuse me. But they don't cover round 13. So I don't think many people will be looking at Titans players apart from maybe Fafita. Yeah, I think that's probably it from the Titans really. Maybe go back into Khan Pereira from round 16 or round 17. But yeah, for me, I think that's probably really it to talk about in that game. Can we see Fitzgibbon is a pod? Lockie Fitzgibbon, he's got 28 points. Is he a pod? He's a pod, but is he a good pod, I guess is the question. Look, maybe, but he's not one who I've traditionally been that a fan of, Supercoach-wise. So yeah, maybe not personally for me. But if he comes good, maybe he has a good game next week and could be a different story. I do like the look of Phoenix Crossland as well. Now, I think most people are going to have Katoa already, so they're probably not going to be looking to move him on when he covers around 13. But if you haven't got him, and if you're looking for a downgrade in 5'8", Phoenix Crossland has been doing quite well now that he's got that starting number 9 spot. He's actually got pretty good work rate. So he did 51 points, pretty much all in base this week. That's probably another shout out. Can we see some Tigers players? I mean, Tigers players I think will be more popular from round 14 because they don't cover round 15. Sorry, they don't cover round 13, but they've got a pretty good bye schedule I think after that, where they cover round 16, and then they miss round 17, but then after that they've got also a pretty clear sailing in terms of the byes. One thing with the Tigers, now it's probably not going to be that relevant, they do have a pretty bad post-origin schedule where they've got 2 one-day turnarounds after game 1 and game 3. But I figure not many Tigers players are going to be playing Origin, so I figure it's not going to impact our Supercoach teams that much. In terms of potential players, so I think Buller looks like a pretty good hold during that period. Isaiah Papali'i, yes, potentially I'm seeing some shout-outs for Papali'i. 65 points this week, pretty much all in base power. I think he was offloading a lot this game. Yeah, oh, sorry, I take that back. He had no offloads. He was tackle busting. Lots of tackle busts. But, I don't know, just not... Look, he's at a good price. He's 587k, so it's a good price for him. I think maybe we'll look to get him potentially post around 13. I think he's been averaging around the low 60s, so he's doing okay. No, he's averaging a 57. I think with IPAP, you can tell that the attack for the Tigers is still very clunky, right? Like, I think this is what he was doing at Parramatta, base power of 65, but the difference is that every other week, maybe once every 3-4 weeks, he was getting a line break try, and he was getting like a 9500. That's just not quite happening. So, like, when he was doing that at Parramatta, his total average was maybe about high 60s, mid 70s. Now it's just kind of going to be around that low 60s. So whilst he's got good base power, I'm just not sure about upside on him, like how many attacking stats is he going to actually get. Look, he's not one I'm going to be rushing for anyway until after round 13, so we'll get a few more weeks sample size hopefully. But yeah, just with the West Tigers attack still not that sharp. And look, granted, Rabbitohs are a very good team and their defense is very good, so it's got to take that into account as well. But yeah, at the moment, not quite looking at IPAP, but he has got, obviously, he is playing outside Luke Brooks, who was commanding most of the attack, I guess, for the Tigers. I'm just going back to make sure I haven't missed any really good scores from IPAP. I mean, yeah, high score of 70 this season, so he's doing fine, but it just hasn't quite hit the heights yet. So I think that's partly just down to the Tigers attack just not being the sharpest at this point in time. Yeah, I think John Bateman has... I mean, what did Bateman score this week? It was 59. Bateman just has probably that more friendly game where he does a lot of those crabby runs, and he looks like he's just got more potential for like those try assists or to crash over for a try. But that can be a debate that we hash out in round 14. I don't think too many people are looking at them if you're an overall player for round 13. All right. Anything else on? Probably not really much else. I think from the Rabbitohs Tigers game to cover. I mean, Johnson probably still is an option for the Rabbitohs if you haven't got him yet. They play the Eels in round 12, so it's obviously probably a decent game. I think the Rabbitohs do like versus the Eels. I feel like they've got a really good record against them. So Johnson is still a decent option that week. Otherwise, maybe Canberra. You can just pick him up and he will lose some money because he had a break even of about 78. But maybe he's a good option. Look, round 14 and 15, Titans and Dragons, I think look pretty appealing for him. So I think even if you don't get him next week, I think round 13, he's probably a good trade in at that point still. Campbell Graham has been outperforming him by far, but look, I think everyone thinks that he'll be off for Origin. So look, if Campbell Graham's somehow not picked for Origin, I think he'll be a better pickup than AJ in round 13, but it'd be pretty shocking if he doesn't get picked for Origin based on his form. And Latrell, I mean, what is he, 925k, god damn it, 925k. He's going to lose some money, but even this is the thing, even if he plays center for the Blues, he will still be able to back up probably. 2-day turnaround after game 1, 3-game turnaround after game 2, then it's a bye after game 3 of Origin. But I mean, look, if Latrell's playing the Titans and the Dragons and I don't own him, it's going to hurt. So might just have to try to get Latrell in round 14. Think I'll have to do it that week maybe. Kind of have to carve up the whole team to get him in that week. My thoughts on Moga this week. Casualty Ward says he should be back for round 12. Break even of minus 57 covers round 13. Yeah, so Moga obviously had those 2 really big scores before he got the injury. So I think he's set to make a lot of money with a minus 57 break even. I think he was priced at I want to say in the 400s. So he's not it's almost 500k. Maybe as a Manu downgrade, you could go Moga, but it's just the Dragons. What's going on with them? Jaden Sullivan, people talk about him this week. Got named to start at halfback in the final team and played about 30 minutes, and then not 20 minutes, and just got hooked. Didn't play the rest of the game. This Dragons team, yes, you can make some money out of Moga, but I mean, if you're looking for someone to make money, he covers round 13, but maybe Billy Smith is a bit safer. At least the risk with Billy Smith is low in that he's 200k cheaper. It's just, the Dragons they're all over the shop, just constantly changing the team. When do duels update? That should be happening next week. So round 12, the duels should be happening. I don't know if it happens at the start of round 12 or afterwards, but I just know that hopefully we'll find out a lockout tomorrow, but hopefully it means that we get the duels this week. If not, it'll be the week after for sure. What are my plans with forward front row if both Gilbert and Welch get picked for Origin? Okay, so we'll quickly touch on that because that might be a question that others have as well. So this is kind of a little bit of a thinking what I'm doing with my team. So Welch is definitely, I think, going to get picked for Origin. So he'll be someone I definitely trade out. Probably not next week, but maybe in round 13. Gilbert, I'm just kind of keeping there as potential if he does or if he doesn't. I don't think Gilbert will play Origin, but because I checked last year, he only played the 1 game because Kafusi was out. I think he had those family things in the US where I think his father was ill or something. So Gilbert played then. So I just wonder if Kafusi's playing, then maybe Gilbert does not play Origin, which would be great because then he covers round 13 for me. If he is out, what I probably would do, specifically for my team, I know Val Holmes had another great game this week, thank God, 92 points against the Dragons, but he'll be out for me in round 13. If anyone is curious as to why, it's just because I think he'll miss too many games during Origin to justify. He'll miss round 13. Round 14, he'll probably back up, but it's Melbourne. Misses round 15, misses round 16 because of Origin. Backs up maybe, but it's the Rabbitohs. he'll play 18, which is a great game, but then he misses round 19 and then maybe misses round 20 because the Cowboys have got a 2-game turnaround in that week. So, I just feel like there's too many games he's missing, and the games that he's playing are not easy, apart from that Tigers game. So I feel like he's one who I can easily just sell, and especially in the centre wing spot. But what I would do is maybe sell Val. I can switch Howarth down to my centre wing, and then that way I can then actually switch Gilbert down to my second row forward, and that might let me buy a front row forward like Tohu to cover. Maybe even if I can't sell Welch, at least that lets me cover him. Otherwise, I'll probably just sell Welch, and I'll probably just try to get Tohu Harris. If both are out, I'll probably just sell Gilbert for Welch. Sorry, I'll probably sell Gilbert for Tohu. Might just keep one or the other, but I'm fingers crossed only Gilbert is going to. Fingers crossed Gilbert will be available and Welch is out. But it'll probably involve some. I probably will try to do some duels. Otherwise, like for example, if Valens Tavares is named in round 13, I'll probably do one of Turuva or Alamotti down to him. That frees up like 200k-ish, and that could be enough for me to go Welch to Tohu, for example. And I might just be able to hold Gilbert and just save some trades there. That 2RF bench, it is a nightmare, isn't it, Steezers? Yeah, I really want to try to fix that up. So I think for me, I'm definitely looking at second row forwards. I think, even if it's Tohu Harris in that spot, maybe him. Lukey may be an option for round 13 as well. So definitely a spot because, that second row forward bench is disgusting. I agree. Although you've said it in a politer way than what I've just said. Jack de Belin, we may as well talk about him as well from the Dragons now that we've kind of talking about those dual front row forwards. Look, he scored that crash try in the first 5-10 minutes, so I'm sure owners would have been loving that. As someone who didn't buy him, obviously not great, but look, I went Tarpany and he only scored about 15-16 points less, so I'll take it. So I think that means de Belin's base power was probably about, if I minus a linebacker try, is probably about 54. Which is fine. His minutes were pretty good again this week. I think he played 71 minutes. So it seems as though, at least for now, under the current setup, his minutes are going to be pretty good in the middle. So I think with him, you can probably definitely expect about the high 50s to low 60s in base each week. So he's going to be I think he'll probably continue to be solid. The reason I didn't opt to go for him and I went Tarpany instead was, the way I was looking at it was, look, JDB has been playing these really, really big minutes and he's scoring well. Tarpany's playing 50 minutes flat and he's scratching the surface at the low 60s. So I was I feel like if there's any movement where de Belin's minutes go down, he's all of a sudden going to be in line with Tarpany. But then during the origin period, if Papali'i goes out, hopefully that means maybe Tarpany gets 2-3 extra minutes, which for him could be an extra 4 or 5 points because his PPM just doesn't slow down. He's just a PPM machine. So I think this week that was kind of a small example of it. He even got taken off midway through the first half, or towards the latter stage of the first half with a little ankle issue or knee issue, but came back and killed it. 50 minutes, 68 points in base power. So I thought with me, I just liked that Tarpany is kind of minutes proof. As long as he gets 50 minutes, he's going to get you 60, 65. And we know the upside. We saw it last year. Maybe de Belin still is an option, but I was just kind of put off by this whole, he's playing really in big minutes, and I just don't know how long that's there to stay for. But if you picked him up this week, obviously you're pretty happy with 84 points for sure. I think there's not really no one else really to talk from the Dragons. Maybe Mogar, people who went Max Fine, I should say, only 23 points. So, not the best. Let me see this question. Thoughts on Reece Walsh playing Origin? I mean, look, if KP plays like that next week as well, I don't see it happening because, maybe Reece Walsh gets picked as 18th man, maybe. I don't see him being named on the bench because I expect Queensland to have 2 hookers in Ben Hunt and Harry Grant. But look, if KP plays like that again, I'm sure, I would think just based on how Queensland are, they'd pick him because he killed it for them in game 3 last year and had a really good game today as well. So I think at the moment, I'd say, if I had to bet, I'd probably say Ponga is playing Origin and Reece Walsh won't. So I think if you're a Reece Walsh owner, he had a pretty good game this week, 67. Some people asked me on Twitter why he didn't get a try assist. I think it was for Herbie Farnworth's try. Now I need to I need to rewatch the highlights of this game, but SC Spy posted on Twitter basically saying that he just viewed it as it wasn't intentional for him to do whatever happened. I think it was like a knock on or something from his knee or whatever. So that's why he only got given, I think, a try contribution for that. Oh no, he's got one try assist, but I think that was for someone else. In any case, look, it'll be interesting to see what happens with Reynolds. I know Reynolds went out of the game early because of I think it was a potential neck issue, so hopefully he's okay. But it did mean that when Reynolds wasn't on the field, that Reece Walsh was goal kicking, so that's obviously really helpful from a SuperCoach point of view. Reynolds only played like 20 minutes. The difficult thing with Walsh is that, look, he's coming into the Penrith Panthers next week, which is obviously a very tough matchup, Penrith being the best defense in the league. Then you've got, where have you got here? You've got Warriors away, but this is a Warriors team that will be very unaffected by Origin, and the Broncos you expect will lose Capewell, Payne Haas, Carrigan, Cobbo. Like, they're going to miss a few of their big guns. So, yeah, Walsh might still be okay, but if you're an owner, I think you probably hold out until round 13 at this point. And you can maybe reassess from round 14 onwards. Let me go back to the screen, sorry. Payne Haas a sell. So I'm seeing a question saying, is Payne Haas a sell? So, bloody Payne Haas, he is literally a pain in the ass because just 92 points and this one line break, 82 points. Like, he's too good. He's too good, isn't he? But I think is someone who, I think he is someone that you can afford to sell during the Origin period. So again, we'll take a look at the rest periods, and let me know if you find this useful as well, by the way, guys. So he's got a 2-day turnaround after game 1, 3 days after game 2, and 2 days after game 3. So I think him being a forward makes it a little bit harder for him to back up. So game 2, after 3 days, I think he can back up. Game 1 and game 3, I think, are more at risk, where it's only a 2-day turnaround. And if I look at the Broncos schedule, I mean, they haven't got any other buys, which is good. So even if he plays half reduced minutes in 14, he'll play 15. Maybe reduced minutes in 17, he'll play 18. Maybe reduced minutes in 20. I think, given that he's at a price of 720k, I feel like he's one that you can afford to sell, and with a view to bring him back, because I think the way that the Broncos are playing, they can maybe afford to play him reduced minutes during the whole Origin period. Given that they're sitting pretty on the ladder, it looks like they'll get at least top 8 spot, and they'll probably try to go for a top 4 come the end of season. So I think with Haas, like, you could go down to Joe Tarpany, for example. You get like 100k. That 100k you could use for upgrades elsewhere. Tarpany is probably going to score about the same as Payne Haas, you'd imagine. He'd probably score more in total points during the Origin period, right? Because, we think that, Payne Haas will definitely miss games because of the Origin schedule, maybe reduced minutes. Whereas if you look at Canberra, like, someone like Joe Taps will play throughout all of this period, and he actually plays round 19 as well. So I think for me, Payne Haas is someone that you could probably definitely sell, with a view to try to get him back maybe after the whole Origin period. Apart from that, I think there's not really too much more to touch on from the Broncos and Storm players. Olam and Meaney, I saw a few people were asking about them. They don't cover round 13, so I'm not really looking too much at the Storm players. I think it's just a question of which ones do you hold or sell. Welsh for me probably will be an easy sell. I think Katoa had another good game, although he dropped a try over the try lines. I'm sure owners would have been absolutely spewing when they saw that. Grant we've already discussed, and look, Munster's maybe someone you can hold, because I expect him to be backing up more often than not. But look, if you don't own, say, like deal bags, then I think you can maybe look to do Munster to deal bags in round 13. Live react to the highlights of the game. Ace Wiz could be entertaining. People have asked me before if I would be interested in doing like a like a watch along. I've just never really thought about how I would go about doing it, so you're not just, I don't know, staring at me for like 80 minutes or something. But anyway, any news on Ewan Aiken? Great. Are we back? Okay, we're back. Sorry. It said my internet had completely dropped out. That's why I was just double checking. Let me know in the chat, guys, if I'm all good. You can hear me okay. Stream's up and running. I think my internet dropped out for a second there. Okay, sorry about that. We'll crack on. Yeah, in terms of Ewan Aiken from J-Dog, I think I was reading NRL Physio's casualty ward update, and he said that it seemed to be minor in nature, although he did mention that Ewan Aiken has had a history of hamstring issues. So maybe there's something that might make them more conservative in terms of the Dolphins resting him, but we haven't got a firm update from the Dolphins as of yet. So hopefully we get one. NRL Physio might give us a good update hopefully tonight on the Magic Sponge podcast. Stream's all good. Okay, sweet. Maybe it was just me who saw it. Okay, so I think Panthers Roosters, we've kind of spoken about the likes of Manu already. Probably someone who I'll get onto in the Canberra matchup. Yeah, Matt Tomoko continues to kill it. So I think if you're looking at selling Manu, if he is indeed out for this week and then obviously misses round 13, Tomoko could be a good get as well. He's just absolutely killing it. Just looks very, very impressive as well. Hosking is a really tough one because we just don't know what happened with the minutes, right? Like, I mean, he's probably going to lose some money. So he scored 28. He had a break even 53. So he's going to probably come down to about 545, 550k. But he probably will have quite a high break even. So he's made us good money. He's made 110k. And he's been a pretty solid scorer for us. You know, he's kind of getting around those 60s most weeks. But given that he misses round 13, yeah, it could be someone that we look to sell. So I think I wouldn't be surprised to see Hosking in the top 10 most traded out. And yeah, someone I'll probably have a think about. Like, it's not ideal that the Warriors have the bye next week, because I think going straight to Tohu would be a nice move, because look, Tohu again played, I think, pretty good minutes last week. The man's an absolute machine, pun intended. He's an absolute warrior. I think he played, let's see here, Tohu played the full 80 again in the middle. Like, he's just a weapon, isn't he? It would be nice to go straight to him, because we know that Tohu covers round 13 and it's just long term, just a great season long hold. But can't go to him. So maybe I give it another week with Hosking, and maybe I go to Hosking to Tohu in round 13 potentially. In terms of other games, we kind of spoke about the Cowboys. I'm really looking at Helam Lukey. Obviously, look, it helps that he scored a double and 121 points, but just really good base power even without that. Like 23 points in runs, 22 in tackles, so that's 45 points in pure base. Then if you add in the offloads and the tackle busts, we're looking at 22 plus that. We're looking at 70 plus in base power, which is quite good. And he is someone who in patches last year showed what he can do, but obviously he got that injury. And he's actually someone who I started with last season. But he's already had a game where he scored 77 points earlier this season. That was back in round 5, where he played 71 minutes and got 49 in base. And he seems to be a good attacking weapon for the Cowboys. So he might be someone to consider for round 13 if you're looking for a 2RF. You know, let's say if you're someone who's maybe looking to move off Hosking. Don't mind the look of Lukey. Now, Jack Gazewski has actually been playing good minutes and scored a try again this week. So he's started making money, but I don't know. Doesn't quite feel like one that I'd be recommending. Like, I think it looks like Lukey probably won't be too different in price to Gazewski, so I'd maybe just say go to him instead. Raiders Eels. So look, yeah, we'll chat quickly about a couple of other options here. Hudson Young. Obviously the Canberra Raiders will play round 13, and they do have a pretty good draw through this little period here. They've got Rabbitohs in round 13, it's not great, but they've got Manly next week. Then it's the Tigers and the Warriors before the bye in round 16. So it's not bad. And even if you held them beyond that, they've got the Titans, Dragons round 18, and they cover round 19 as well. So if Hudson Young, say, doesn't make the Origin team, he's one who I think if you're looking at, I would be waiting till round 13, because he looks like a potential smoky for Origin. But he is someone who does need attacking stats. Like I mentioned this, I think, in preseason. He had a really good year last year, but he scored like 10, 11 tries. He is a try-scoring back rower, but he just does need those tries to maintain like a mid-60s average. So 78 this weekend, but that did include a try contribution, and I'll try and a try contribution. So that's 21 points. So take that out, you're looking at about 55, which is kind of thereabouts what he normally would get without the attacking stats. But looks a good attacking outlet for the Raiders. And the Raiders are looking good at the moment as well. They're in a good spot at the moment. So I don't mind jumping on some of their options and kind of riding the form. So maybe Tomoko in the center wing spot for a minor replacement. Maybe Hudson Young as well for a 2RF. And obviously Tarpany as well. You can get in 2RF or also in the front row forward spot too. From the Eel side of things, I think Hopgood definitely still is worth consideration. 80 points, did score a try, included in that. The try did come off a kick, so no line break associated with it. So still scored very well outside of that. We're looking at 63 points in base power without that try. So just Hopgood being Hopgood, showing that when he gets minutes, he's a good option. Filthy that I sold him those few weeks ago because he's just been on a tear since then. But what can you do about it? I am conscious about with Hopgood, just about loading up on Eels players, just because we know that they do have the bye in round 14. He played 72 minutes, and Sean Lane obviously was injured this game, only played 28 minutes, so he was off with a hamstring injury. I expect him to be out for a couple of weeks, just given the nature of hamstring injuries. Probably means if you're a Bryce Cartwright holder, I'd expect Cartwright to move to that left edge and play, because he played 52 minutes. He basically played whatever Sean Lane would have been playing. So I think Cartwright, if you've still got him, he's probably someone that you can look to hold just to give yourself that round 13 coverage. Hopgood still probably someone who's still worth an option to trade in. 600k is not a bad price still. Ryan Madison played 54 minutes, which is kind of what we were seeing last year when he was coming off the bench as a middle. Bit interesting, his work rate was slightly down this game because he did get a try assist off a kick. So if you take that out, he got 50 in 54 minutes, which is, look, it's not bad, but last year we were seeing Madison get about the 65-70 when he was coming off the bench. So bit of a down week for Madison. So I think at his price tag, he's still decent, but he's very expensive at 720k. So there's a few other options who might be a bit cheaper than him, who might be worthwhile considering. Like Hosking to him, for example, will be, that's a lot of money that you need to get. Alright, I've already spoken about the Knights Titans. I'll quickly chat about the Sea Eels Sharks game, and then I'll do about 10 minutes of Q&A just to see what other people have thoughts on. But yeah, look, I think this week with the Sea Eels Sharks game, a bit of an interesting game. Sharks were pretty much dominant through most of the game, except the Eagles kind of came back towards the back end and were a lot better. But more or less the Sharks were in control for most of the game. Hines was on about 59 at halftime, ended up on about 81, so a bit of a quieter second half. Obviously the Sharks didn't score any points in the second half, but maybe with some updates he gets up to about 85 points. He's that kind of player who can, get those unicorn points for sure. Difficult to recommend more Sharks players, I think, just given that they don't cover round 13, but will be a team that I think we can target after that for sure. Like the outside backs like Mulatalo, Sione Katoa had a good game this week as well. Maybe Jesse Ramian, but I mean, also with Ramian, like how many times did he want to jump up and pretend to contest the kick and get away with it? I'm glad that they pulled him up at the end finally for a penalty, because he kept jumping up and pretending to contest, and it was just not getting pinged at all. And I thought it was a bit harsh on the Manly Sea Eagles that they weren't getting penalties for that. No one else really, I think, delivered apart from Garrick on the Sea Eagle side of things. Paseka had a 62 points. I know people have been looking at him in the last few weeks as more of a pod front row forward. He did get a line break though, so without that would have been 52 points, which is fine. But there probably are enough good options, I think, at front row forward, like Tohu, Tarpany, DeBellin, even Corey Horsburgh, for example. If he doesn't play Origin, I'd probably still rank all of them maybe above Paseka, because they all have duel as well, whereas Paseka's is strictly front row forward only. Now, Tom Trbojevic, 39 points. Didn't get a try assist, I think, for Garrick's try. I think it was given to Ben Trbojevic. It was given to Ben Trbojevic. Maybe Turbo gets that on updates. I'm not 100% sure how I feel about that one. Although Ben Trbojevic did have a good pass, so there's a good chance that he keeps it. But yeah, just still not looking 100%, is he? Like, I think he's playing, which makes me think that he'll get picked for Origin. But he's clearly still not 100%. Like Alex is asking here, is Tom Trbojevic a trade? I still think you wait until round 13, because he's at a price tag now where that 39 I don't think is going to make him lose still that much money. Like, he had a break even of 62, and so look, he'll go down to like 565, 560k maybe, there or thereabouts. But look, in the off chance that Turbo doesn't play Origin, everyone who doesn't own Turbo in round 13 will probably try to get him, because it's a decent game against the Knights, and people will be scared. Although, to play devil's advocate, I think the way that he's playing, people might just say, look, he's probably not worth the investment at the moment, just given that he's still not looking 100%. He got burned on the outside by, was it Britt Nickera in the second half, where I think it was Ramian's try. And just still not looking 100% at all. So I think with Turbo, keep him for round 12, I think, and then round 13, if he's not named, I think, you sell at that point, because he's someone who I did identify as a prime candidate for resting for Manly. So if you look at Manly's backup schedule from Origin, they've got the bye around 14, so you automatically will miss, let's say if he plays Origin, he'll miss round 13 and he'll miss round 14 with the bye. He'll play round 15 against the Dolphins, but then he'll miss round 16 with Origin. Round 17 is against Melbourne, and he has a 2-day turnaround, so a good chance of resting. Even if he doesn't, it's a tough game, it's away to Melbourne. Then round 18 has got the Roosters, which, look, at the moment looks like a good matchup because we're playing like garbage, but he'll play that week. Then he'll miss round 19 with Origin, and then round 20, it's another 2-game turnaround against the Cowboys. Again, he could easily miss that game. Then it's the Sharks. There's a good chance we might not get Turbo back until like round 25, maybe. So I think with Turbo, as long as he's still playing at this current level and he's not getting back to that Turbo that we all know, I think, for a while he probably won't be that relevant during this entire Origin period. So I think for me, it feels like if he's playing round 13, keep. Then round 14, you can easily sell him when he's got the bye. And then, if he plays Origin, just sell him in round 13, in my opinion. And, the thing with Turbo as well was that I'm assuming if you still have players like Taruva, if you've got Garrick, if you've got any of those options who have that center wing fullbacks duel, you can just move Turbo to, you can swap one of Garrick or John's, or you can swap Taruva or Garrick to your fullback spot, and you can go Turbo to like Lockie Miller. You can go Turbo to Valence Tavare, make 300k if Tavare is named fit there, use that 300k to make a big upgrade elsewhere in the squad. So I think you'll have options, to sell Turbo to, even if he's at a lower price. So I don't think I would worry too much about him losing some cash, because he's already at a low value. All right, I think that's probably it from the games in a SuperCoach coverage perspective. We've been going for about 58 minutes, so I think what we'll do about 5-10 minutes of questions, and then we'll wrap it up there for round 11. But guys, if you've enjoyed the stream so far, do please give it a like. As always, it does really help me out. Alex says AFB is on fire. Man, that guy is so frustrating not having him and just going try. I'm just like, can you calm down, please? Can you just not? 90 points again. Anyone who bought him like 4 or 5 weeks ago, shout out to Savs from the SuperCoach experience, because I know he did. Just been on an absolute tear, but he's so expensive now. He's so expensive. It feels hard to buy him now, doesn't it? If he was 600k, I probably would have got him over Tarpany, but 740k is just too expensive, so I couldn't go him. Trade Teddy out. Yeah, look, if you own Teddy, I sold him this week because I just didn't want to have him against the Panthers, and I'm glad I did, but I would keep him around 12. It's a Dragons matchup after all, so I think that it'd be interesting to see what his potential break even will be next week. There's an account on Twitter, Jay Schubert. I definitely would recommend it. I'll put it in the chat, actually, his Twitter account. He posts indicative break evens after each game, which is helpful just to kind of get a rough idea of maybe where people's prices and break evens will be moving into the next week. So he's got Tedesco with where is he? So he's got Teddy with a break even of 82 next week, and he would lose 29k. So look, I know Teddy's not playing well and the Roosters are not attacking, but he can get 82 points against the Dragons. I would put Teddy in for like a 60 points at least against the Dragons. So same thing with Turbo. I think hold him for one more week. but definitely sell, I think, in round 13, because I think you're just not seeing enough out of the Roosters, and I don't think the Roosters have got that great of a schedule between the buys anyway. Like, they'll play Bulldogs in round 14, but then it's Penrith again, misses round 16, Canberra round 17, who are better, Manly's okay, but then it's 19 again, then it's 20, like 20's Melbourne. Like, yeah, I think Teddy's an easy sell over the Origin period for sure, and there's a good chance you don't bring him back. I think just to, like, for me, during Origin, even after Origin, I'll be looking to get Latrell, and I'll probably be holding on to Gutherson throughout the Origin period as well. So for me, I definitely will try to get Gutho and Latrell maybe during Origin, and then after that, I might run home with Latrell and maybe a Reece Walsh, maybe another fullback. I don't know. We'll see how we go. Who am I trading in for Manu? I haven't really given it much thought at this stage, but I've got 28k. I was looking at next week in terms of if you guys are interested in what I was thinking about doing for trades next week potentially. I was viewing next week as maybe a week to just hold off on, say, maybe save trades, or I might just do one trade. One person I haven't spoken about actually from the Bulldogs is, I think it's Harrison Edwards. So he played 71 minutes at lock, did score a try, but did play big minutes. So he scored 42 points in tackles plus 15 in runs. So what's that? 57 in base and 40 in 71 minutes. So he is bottom dollar. He is going to go up in price this week though. This is his third game. Someone did ask me about him on stream last week on Tuesday, and I just didn't have any real context behind him. But he scored 44 and 36. And in terms of his minutes in those 2 weeks, he had 62 minutes and 58 minutes. So he's definitely getting minutes. So I think he's someone who maybe at front row forward, I think he'll go up to about, let's see, Jay Schubert has got, he's got Edwards with a minus 34 break even, and he's going up 81k, so he might be 280k. If I feel like I want to maybe just create some funds, I might go Welch down to him, given that I'm going to sell Welch anyway, and then maybe I hold off on trading out Manu until round 13 until I know there's for sure a round 13 center that I want. Or maybe a round 13 back row. I might be able to do Manu. Probably if I sold Manu, I'd probably get actually a second row forward, because I'd probably swap Manu by Howarth, and my 4 center wings next week would be Marzu, Garrick, Val Holmes and Johnston. So that's strong enough in itself. So I think I'd probably maybe look to get a second row forward if I was to sell Manu next week. Could be Manu to, look, Sean Lane would have been nice, but maybe I go Manu to Madison if I've got money, or maybe Manu to Hopgood. Manu to Hopgood is something I could do, as long as I'm not overcommitting on players who will be out in round 14. Okay, what do I do if I have Began and Boyd as hookers? Who's Began? Is that Wade Egan? I mean, if that is Wade Egan, I guess you could just keep Egan because he'll cover round 13. I know he started coming off the bench though. So what did he actually score this week? Let's see. So I haven't been paying much attention to Wade Egan. 21 points. Oh, okay, that's kind of gross, isn't it? What about his minutes? Did he play really low minutes off the bench? Let's see quickly. 37 minutes. Yeah, if you're a Wade Egan owner, I know he covers round 13, but oh, that's right, he'll have a buy in round 12 too. Maybe it's a good week to move him on to maybe a Robson or a Jeremy Marshall-King, one of those two who covers round 13. Robson won't be too different in price, maybe him. If you've got more money, I prefer Marshall-King. I think I like what the Dolphins are doing. They're scoring points quite well. I think when I looked at their attacking numbers this week, I think they were averaging I think they were 4th or 5th in the comp, or maybe even 3rd for points scored per game. So they're a good attacking side, and he's a big part of that as well. Okay. Man, I've got Teddy. What do we do with him? I just kind of went into a long explanation about Teddy. So if you missed that, just go back about 5 minutes. But long story short, keep round 12, sell round 13. It's kind of, I think, how I feel about Teddy. You could definitely hold Manu. Like I've got good centering depth. So I think if Manu's not long-term. It doesn't sound that serious for Manu either. So I just want to kind of hear what NRL Physio says about him and what the prognosis is. But you can definitely hold Manu. Draw's not great, but look, round 14 is a week that we will need depth, and they do play the Bulldogs that week. So he's definitely someone that even if you can afford to hold him, look, if he plays next week, then fantastic. It's the Dragons. If he doesn't, but you can afford to hold him, look, you will have him back for round 14, hopefully against the Bulldogs. And it would just be interesting to see what happens with him, though. I feel like Sam Walker's going to come back into this team sooner rather than later. Like, surely he has to be back in this team. So let's say if Walker's back round 14 and Manu's out back to the centres, it's not great for us. So yeah, I'm curious to see. I think that's kind of why if Manu's out for 2 weeks, like he is 650k. Let's not forget that. He is at a pretty good value. You can definitely do a lot with that. Like you could go him to Tomoko, for example, who's been on form. So you can definitely hold Manu, but I think there's a lot that you can also do with his money. Why would I trade in Latrell during Origin? The reason I say that is because the South's schedule for resting isn't too bad during Origin, and if he's playing centre, like he's not going to be he's not going to be asked to exert as much as maybe say he was at fullback. I take your point that the Rabbitohs for sure can afford to rest players given that they're doing so well, but I think if Latrell continues to back up and doesn't get a rest, then look, I'll want him probably at some sooner rather than later. So yeah, look, it's probably not the ideal time to get him, but look, still a lot to think about. Like I'm definitely not going to get him before round 13. Let's put it that way. So it's a question for me for round 14, I think. Is Kolomatangi an option once he comes back? Yeah, for sure. He was definitely killing it before he got injured. He was doing better than Murray. I think again, people who have Murray. I think I saw a couple of people asking what to do with Murray. I think he scored about 60 this week, which is fine. I think with Murray, again, he's probably someone who I think very much would consider to be a rest candidate for the Rabbitohs. So I think he's someone who I would hold for one more week in round 12 and then sell in round 13. Part of the reason why I'm telling you guys, I think part of the reason why I'm maybe thinking of just holding off on trades this week is because you just get an extra week of information about a lot of guys who you're not maybe 100% sure about. Maybe give Hosking another week, give Lukey another week. Is Hopgood who you want to trade in for second forward, or is it Madison instead? Is there other injuries that happen that means the guy that you traded in is actually out for round 13? I think I want Tohu Harris. He's not available around 12. So I'm kind of just looking at this week as maybe a kind of a hold fire on trades week in round 12. When do you get rid of Jared Croker? Oh, look, I think Croker, you keep him for round 13 coverage and potentially round 14 as well, given that your depth is probably going to be tested in round 14 if you've got a lot of Eels, Manly and Knights players. And then I think after that you can probably sell him in round 15. Although he's got, round 15 is the Warriors. So round 14 will have Tigers, which is fine. Round 15 is the Warriors. Then he misses round 16. About that time, you'd hope that he's probably peaked in price. What did he have? He had a break even of -8. So I think he'll continue to make money. Maybe he'll hold his value about 450k. And then, I think round 15, round 16, you can probably get rid of Croker. Look, Hamish again. Yeah, take your point. Do you think Walker will be rested? Not the type like Teddy to back up. That's probably something I will do either this week or week after. Just dig into some of these guys and what their historical rates of backing up are. I think I used to do that. I did it last year, or I did it the year before. And I think that was when I was looking at the likes of Nathan Cleary and stuff. All right, we'll do one more question and then we'll wrap it up there because I've been going for like an hour, 10 minutes. Sebastian, for the buy rounds, does it matter if you don't have players in some positions playing, example, no halfbacks and no hookers, but you have 5 2RFs playing, so all of your 2RF scores get taken? Yeah, that's the way that it's been set up this year, is that in the buy rounds, the major buy rounds, so round 13, 16, 19, the game will take your best 13. So you can have no hookers, no halfbacks, but if you've got 6 second row forwards, and you've got, let's say, 5 center wing, so that's, and remember you only have 4 reserves still. So let's say you have 6 second row forwards, 5 center wings. So that's all your 4 reserve spots. And then you've got 11 players. And then you've got 1, 5, 8, 12. And then you've got 1 front row forward, 13. that's fine. That's how you get your best 13. So you don't have to have a player in every position. All right, I think we'll wrap it up there. We're going on for about an hour, 10 minutes. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that. Do give the stream a like on the way out if you did enjoy it. Really great to be back doing a roundup stream after missing the last few weeks. And we'll be back next week to cover round 12. Leave any questions that you have in the comments below, or I will put a post out on the YouTube channel and on Twitter as well, asking for your questions to help kind of cover off what are the main topics for round 12. And we'll be doing that on Tuesday, hopefully. And I'll see you all then. Hope you all have a good Sunday evening, and catch you in the next one. Bye.